In London, there's no shortage of world-famous museums, but sometimes the real magic lies in the smaller, lesser-known ones. On my recent trip, I set out with a goal to uncover some of these unique niche museums centered on one concept, where history, art, and humor can all come together. Don't get me wrong, I do love getting lost in a massive museum, but as a completionist, places like the Louvre feel overwhelming to me. Like, I'd have to be there for weeks to feel satisfied. The other thing too is that I love how these tiny museums let you get really deep into a niche subject or just help you explore the city in a whole new way. Hey, I'm Niba, and these are my notes on 5 of London's little mini museums. For more of my notes on science-backed beauty and productivity tips and wellness, and just a little behind the scenes of my life, you can check out my socials. I'm at NotesByNiba on all platforms. And if you can't get enough of me, which obviously who could, you can watch my videos earlier over on Nebula. The link's in the description below. Starting with my favorite, Novelty Automation, a museum of satirical homemade arcade machines. Everything was one of a kind, and it might be controversial to call this a museum, but I think it definitely fits the category. There's a huge range of games to play. Some of them are just coin-operated shows, while others tell you your future, and there are others that are extra interactive video games. I really liked this bicycle-powered Pong one. Since I was by myself, I didn't play it, but it still was really fun to watch everyone else play, and there are a lot of games you can play on your own. It's free to enter, and there's no need to book online. Art is meant to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed, and this museum totally does that, with machines like the Divorce Party and the Amazon Fulfillment Center, which I found especially clever. I feel like the entire museum was just very unique and funny, poking at different parts of society and giving commentary on things. It definitely healed me from the not-so-great vibes at the Sir John Soane's museum that I went to. More on that later. So I played the Extreme Rapid Vacation, which just sort of takes you through the motions of a vacation. You get on a plane, go to a beach, typical stuff, but things just get weirder and weirder. The plane attendant gives the safety demonstration and then literally, quote, services, quote, a passenger. I also loved their donation incentive. If you donate, you get to try breaking glass with your brain with this contraption. I just really loved the interactivity of everything and how much of an experience this spot is, which definitely is cool, but I don't know, it's that famous Chinese saying, tell someone something they'll forget, but involve them, they will remember. And this place I will definitely remember. When I walked into the fan museum, I knew I had found someone's hyperfixation turned immense collection, and I am all about it. It is the only museum in the world fully dedicated to the art, history, and craft of fans. Admission is just £5 for adults and $3 for students and kids. It is absolutely worth it. The museum has over 7,000 objects encompassing more than 1,000 years of fan history and culture. The vibe of the outside is this cute little garden. The displays are incredible. There's fans made of ivory, lace, delicate fabrics, some open and closed while others stay fixed. There's such a variety with pieces from France, England, Spain, Japan, China. The museum even has fan shapes hidden throughout, like little Easter eggs in the decor, from the stair railing to the rugs. And in the back, there's this breathtaking painted room done by a single artist in 1 week. It's called the Orangery, but it's definitely not used as a greenhouse for oranges anymore, but I guess the name must have stuck. At any rate, this place blew me away. The details are stunning. She even painted these tiny spider webs into the mural, and the flower pots have this cool 3D effect to them. Oh, it was just incredible. The museum was founded by Helen Alexander, who's an expert on fans, and her husband, Dickie. The fan museum has a very warm, inviting vibe and thoughtful curations and welcoming staff. I went through everything in about 2 hours, and it felt like the perfect amount of time. I seriously cannot recommend this museum enough. And I keep it real with you guys. I'm not just going to be positive about every single museum, because the Sir John Soane's museum was straight up the worst museum I have ever been to in England. And you don't even need to book online. I literally just waited in line for a few minutes and then just walked in. Inside, it's a collection of all sorts of random things: artifacts, artworks, bits of buildings. The bits of buildings were supposedly removed from structures that were already crumbling, but were the sites crumbling before or after the works were removed? Did the dealers have explicit permission to take those pieces? These questions are largely overlooked. In fact, lots of information is overlooked. There's no story or flow or rhythm to any of the collection, and as I walked through, I felt this uncomfortable vibe, like something wasn't quite right. It wasn't until the second to last room that I reached that I finally understood where this feeling was coming from. In the basement, they've got the full-on sarcophagus of Seti I on display, and seeing it there, I realized that the entire museum, it just felt like a place for a rich old white guy to show off that Britain had taken all this stuff from a bunch of other places. An unsettling reminder of Britain's colonial history with no information or discussion of the effects that it had, and it just left this really bad taste in my mouth that I just left immediately. Later, I looked up more of it online, and after the Seti sarcophagus arrived in his house in March 1825, he held this 3-day party, and then they invited 890 people to come party with the sarcophagus, I guess. The basement where the sarcophagus was housed, and there was 100 candles and candelabra just all around it lit up, and they put refreshments on the sarcophagus. It's not clear if it's like on the sarcophagus or around the sarcophagus. Either way, not super great. And his collection is so extensive that it is impossible for all of it to be on display at once. This next one is well known, but I have a hack that makes it 12 times better, pun intended. So the Clockmakers of London is a free museum within the Science Museum, and this collection tracks the history of watch and clock innovation in London from the 1600s up to today. And here's the thing, all of those clocks are still working, and that means they're all still playing sounds, which means that if you go like just before noon, not like at noon, you have to go before, because like the thing is the clocks are all pretty old, right? So like some of them are not quite timed exactly perfectly, so they start chiming at like 11:51 or something, and then they just keep on going till like 12:03. And you would think that with so many different clocks and so many different types, it would sound like horrible, like this cacophony of sounds, but it's actually super melodic and really cute. The Science Museum is massive, so I'm really glad it's split into sections. The Clockmakers collection itself took about an hour to go through, which felt like the perfect amount of time. And the range is so impressive. There's over 600 watches, 90 clocks, 30 marine chronometers, plus a bunch of fine sundials and intricate hand engravings and like little keys that they would use to wind up the clocks. They even have the wristwatch that Sir Edmund Hillary wore when he became the first person to climb Everest in 1953. The whole place has such charm with plenty of tiny little like intricate clocks that I really loved, and ones that were just like super artsy. For anyone who's really into just like craftsmanship and history, this place is a gem. I couldn't resist doing a quick little trip over to Paris. I booked a Eurostar, leaving London at 6 a.m. and then coming back the next day around 3 p.m. Once I arrived in Paris, I met up with a friend I'd made in Korea just a month earlier. She's so warm and kind, and she even let me crash with her, and we had an amazing day exploring Paris together. We visited some art spots like the Dali Museum, which I will admit I think was focused a little bit too much on selling the art, but we also went to this really awesome place called 59 Rivoli. That place is something else. It's this 6-story art gallery that used to be an artist squat and then legalized by the city in 2006. It's got this incredible spiral staircase that climbs all 6 floors, and it's all covered in these colorful murals on the walls, the floors, the ceilings. This place is still known for its parties, exhibitions, and performances, and it is such a lively, creative space. I really loved it. Beyond the museums, we spent the day walking around Paris eating and just soaking it all in. At night, we stayed up super late talking, sharing like social media stuff and doing skincare together. It was such a like cute sleepover vibe. And then the Museum of the Home was one of my absolute favorites from this trip, and it's free to enter. Their mission is to reveal and rethink the way we live so that we can live better together, and they just do this so beautifully. The museum has around 40,000 objects, everything from armchairs to wallpaper, vacuum cleaners to old account books, and every single piece has this like different insight into what home means for different people. The museum originally opened in 1914 as a resource for local workers in the East End furniture industry, but as you can tell, it went through a bunch of changes, and in 2019, it was renamed to be Museum of the Home. And this much better reflects its mission because it goes way beyond furniture and asks questions about like, what makes a home? How have our homes changed over time? What might homes look like in the future? And it even explores what happens when people don't return home and how gardens play into the concept of home. I went into this museum knowing that it might be kind of emotional, and it definitely was. It hit me pretty hard. I had to like pause at a few moments to just sort of like recollect. Like this museum had a section on domestic game changers, which was really just like specific objects that have like really transformed our lives over the past 400 years. And seeing how these ordinary things could have such an impact really made me think. Because lately I've been reflecting a lot on like what home means to me, because it's obviously, you know, the people and blah, 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 but like people move, people change, and I feel like ever since my parents died, there's nothing really tying me to San Francisco and California anymore, other than the fact that like I have friends here, but also you have friends like around the world, and friends will move. So like that doesn't feel like a good enough reason to be stuck in one area forever. And the other thing too is that living in new places just gives you like a new perspective. You go through a whole bunch of character growth and like definitely a lot of like inner turmoil. And I have always wanted to live in another country, and after the election, I just really feel that, because America is just moving further and further away from my values. So all that to say that I'm not really sure where this feeling is going to lead, but it does leave me feeling kind of untethered in a pleasant but also not pleasant way. I don't know. It's both like scary and liberating somehow at the same time. And so for my very last like dinner, I took my bestie to Nafe's, which was this incredible vegan restaurant, and they gave us so much food. It was such a good value. Oh my gosh. I didn't get much footage here because it was like her thank you dinner for letting me crash at hers for the past week. But trust me, this place is so special. Something about like a really good vegan restaurant just hits. It's just so delicious every time, because If it's not, that restaurant will not survive. But yeah, it was the perfect way to just end the day and my trip, just some quality time with my bestie and reflecting on all these things that I'm now sharing with you. So those are all my notes on 5 of London's mini museums. I hope this was helpful in maybe helping you plan your visit or giving you a taste of what it would be like without having to go there. Sometimes some of the most valuable experiences in travel come from these hidden, under the radar type of spots. And I think these mini museums can offer just as much, if not more, than the big ones as well. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you didn't, you should still hit like anyways, and just let me know why. I'm definitely gonna delete the hate, but I'll listen to constructive criticism. But I've also just been thinking about content in general and kind of what direction I see it going in, because I don't know, as a person changes sometimes, so do their interests, and I want my notes to be something that is really interesting for me and also valuable for you. So things are gonna be shifting around here for the next few months, and I hope you stick around. And with that, I'll see you on the next page. I wonder if this mic will pick up Osmosis's purrs. We have a special guest.